what lessons can be learned from the example of the United States having this balance of power?
Well, if you have that type of balance of power, then it probably means that you don't risk ending up with a dictator. You end up having, for example, arriving at policies that run the country on the basis of debates. You have an environment that allows the people to talk about the issues that affect them. And in fact, reaching a point where they agree that this can actually work for us, and this cannot work for us. And I think that this is something that is very, very important for Africa. As we talked about, during the Straight Talk Africa edition last week, we were talking and emphasizing the need, really, for permanent institutions if Africa is going to really make it, rather than strong men who end up being dictators, really. And as you said, sometimes even turning the central banks into their ATMs. And there's a lot of evidence to boot that that is in fact is happening in a lot of countries. That's part of the reason why that continent is not developing. That is part of the reason why, for example, those governments are not creating an environment that, for example, creates jobs. Africa is one of the continents, for example, where when you think about the changing demographics, the young people increasingly are becoming the majority. They are not invested in the status quo. They have nothing. They do not have jobs. They do not, in fact, have the hope of tomorrow. And so what are you going to do? You need a democratic continent. You need systems that are in place that have the ability and the capacity to respond to the needs of the people in those countries. And so what Africa needs is checks and balances. And checks and balances can only be brought about through permanent institutions, an independent judiciary, an independent legislature, and of course, an executive, which can interact and reach a decision that reflects, for example, policies that are for the benefit of the citizens of that particular country.